Good morning. Oh, come on, we can do better than that. Good morning. Get excited. It's time to talk about data. Don't we all love that, right? So welcome to Austin. This is an exciting time for us. We're so happy to have all of you here with us. We even turned up the heat just for you. But welcome to the live music capital of the world, the land of the best barbecue. If anybody of you from out like North Carolina or St. Louis, I'm sorry, we have the best barbecue here. Lady Bird Lake, 6th Street, and so many more places. I really do hope that you take the time to explore this amazing city that so many of us love to call home. So before I really get into all my talking points and everything, I do want to give you a little basic facts about Austin, set a little bit of a foundation. So we have nearly 1 million residents in the city itself, nearly 2.2 million in the metropolitan statistical area. And then the latest figure I heard is that just moving to Austin, the net figure per day is around 150 people moving here. So we are growing at an incredible rate. We generally double in population every 20 years. So our city itself has a $3.9 billion budget, and yes, that's billion with a B, and approximately 14,000 employees. So that includes over 40 offices and departments, including our electric utility, a water utility, convention center, airport, trash and recycling, and then all the other stuff that we normally do, police, fire, EMS, parks and libraries, all the basic stuff. So there's a lot going on in an incredibly fast-growing community. So who am I? So I'm the Chief Performance Officer for the City of Austin. I was very lucky to begin my career here in 2003, and I've held a variety of different positions, things like in the City Manager's office, the Budget office, but I'm really excited about my role as the Chief Performance Officer. I'm responsible for leading our Office of Performance Management, and we've existed for just about 2.5 years. So we have 3 core functions that you can see up here on the slide. That includes strategic plan development, implementation, performance measurement and data analytics, and process improvement that's based largely on Lean Six Sigma. But as you can also see in this image, there are only 5 of us. Remember I said there's 14,000 employees, $3.9 billion budget, over 40 departments and offices. It's a lot to cover with 5 people. So I've commonly referred to us as small but mighty. But that team, they're an amazing group of women. I am so lucky to have them. I learn from them daily. And I do want to take a moment to thank them. And let's see, the lights are bright. I can't see. I know they're in here, so I do want to take a moment just to thank them and all the work they do, because they're just an amazing group of people. So I'm going to take you back in time a little bit and tell you a story. It's a love story. It's about how Data and Austin fell in love. So our first date, it was terrible. If it'll go there, come on. There we go. It was a terrible first date. We were trying to build a new website for the city and had 5, count them 5, failed RFPs to try and bring a company in to help us build that new website. It was a rocky time. It was a character building time, we might say. But we eventually found happiness with an open source content management system, but more importantly with one of our first major partnerships in terms of data. And it's called Open Austin. This is back in 2009. So who is Open Austin? It's a volunteer citizen brigade advocating for open government, open data, and civic application development. And they're actually official brigade for the nonprofit Code for America. Their mission is to help communities and governments exchange ideas using data, technology, and design, and they do this by hosting educational events, workshops, facilitating community workspaces, and advocating for open data and government policy. And they were a big partner with us in where we finally got with our current website. So we're incredibly grateful to them and all that they continue to do with us. We also have a really great partnership with our city council. In 2011, they made a very deliberate commitment to open government. They actually passed an open government resolution that it directed our city manager to work with our technology-focused commitments to develop recommendations for elements on an open government framework, and that related to open data, open source platforms, mobile applications, and social media, as well as an open government directive centered on transparency, efficiency, and collaboration. So our relationship with data now includes the community, Open Austin, and our council. So why not add somebody else to the mix, right? So who is that? It's Socrata. So it began with the launch of our open data portal in 2011 with a mere 25 data sets. So we were one of the first cities that Socrata courted, and Kevin Merritt was actually our sales guy. So much has changed for Socrata since then, right? But without them and their hands-on approach to get us up and running so smoothly, we likely would not have had an open data portal up until years later. They were also really supportive of our grassroots community-driven approach. When we surveyed the residents on which data sets to launch, Socrata did whatever they could do to make sure we met our commitments to the public and had all of those data sets launched on time as promised. And because of our initial successes with open data and community engagement in partnership with Socrata, the city was able to be a Code for America city in 2012. With that partnership, we were able to open a lot of eyes throughout the organization about an open, transparent, and community-driven approach to solving problems and providing services. It also marked a new chapter in our relationship with Open Austin, and we started to see more and more applications and innovative solutions built off of our open data platform. So what's impressive about all of that? It all happened with just 2 to 3 people working on it very part-time within the city, which makes the next part of this story even more important. It's our Data Liaisons network. So this group was established in 2014 and now includes approximately 50 employees from within the city. And this greatly boosts our capacity and capabilities around data drastically. Each department, office, and major program throughout the city was asked by the city manager to assign a data liaison. So we gave really broad recommendations on what type of person or role might make a good liaison, but left it a little vague on purpose because we wanted a diverse group. No offense to any DBAs in the room, but we didn't want just database administrator types and just the techie folks. We wanted folks from throughout the organization, planners, program managers, and all the sort. So as a result, we have a group of people in this network from a variety of titles and roles. But when you have that big mix of people, it can create some challenges. So at first, it was sort of difficult to get everyone on the same page as to where we should be heading with all of our open data initiatives. But over time, it's really been great to have such a wide range of folks at the table because it gives us an opportunity to learn so much from each other, and also gives an opportunity for folks to be exposed to others that they wouldn't normally have been working with from throughout the organization, that 14,000 some odd person organization. So we also left the responsibilities fairly vague to allow each liaison the chance to make it their own. Since each group, each department, each function in the city is so different, we had to give them some wiggle room. But so generally speaking, the liaisons are responsible for identifying, vetting, and provisioning all the data into the open data portal. And the core open data team within our IT department, our communications and technology management department, they act more as consultants on best practices and standards, privacy and ethical matters, and other things like that. So they're essentially providing that technical assistance when needed as well. So how does our liaison network work? They generally are working on a 45-day sprint cycle, not the kind of sprint that some in the full tech world would be used to, but 45 in government terms, that's pretty darn fast. So what does that to-do list look like? Well, it consists of items that are informed by extensive internal and external user and customer research, and it's guided also by a program roadmap. So lately, we've been working on about 8 to 12 items per sprint. Each sprint team is led by a sprint captain, And the team is made up of members of that core open data team, as well as volunteers from other departments. Anyone's free to join or lead the team. They're self-leading and organizing. Essentially, they are completely empowered to solve real problems in a collaborative way around data. How do we keep them all connected? We use Bloomfire to report out to the rest of the organization. We hold monthly meetups where approximately 30 to 4 people attend at any given time, and it's not just city employees, it's also members of the public that are welcome to join in and hear. We are completely transparent about the work we're doing. We have to be. That was part of the whole open government framework that the council directed us to achieve back all those years ago. So, but these meetups are not just for reporting out on the program updates or sprints, but we also make sure to have different panels from media and academia, internal project highlights, vendor demos, field trips, hands-on data visualization workshops, and more. We want to make it so this network of folks throughout the organization always has really great opportunities to learn more and continue to develop and better serve their departments and therefore the community. So bottom line, our data liaison network is awesome. I'm just gonna give ourselves some kudos right there because they are some amazing people. All of this progress wouldn't have been possible, though, without the leadership and hard work from our open data team and the communications and technology department and those data liaisons. So I need to specifically recognize a couple people, and I'm gonna, hopefully I can see you. Matt Escabel and Charles Perma. Can y'all stand up? Where are you? There you are. Those two gentlemen are doing more for this community than I think they could ever truly understand and realize. And I know for all the work that I do from office performance management and that we're doing for the city, like I'm just eternally grateful to everything you do and continue to do. I also want just the rest of your team and any data liaisons that might happen to be in the audience, like just you stand up, because without you, the network would not exist. So please, if you're in the room, stand up. I want to thank you as well. So this love story is getting good, right? So at this point, we're engaged. It's time to plan the wedding. But so how do you plan that wedding? How do you make that forever commitment to data? We have tons of efforts underway within the organization. It can be overwhelming, to be honest. But at the same time, I find it pretty invigorating. So first, I want to focus on the development of our strategic plan. And a strategic plan, is that really a big deal? Some people might say no, but for us, it was a big deal. It was the first one we had done since the 2000s, early 2000s. Again, nearly 1 million people, $3.9 billion budget, and no strategic plan. Scary. So why did we do this? So a few years ago, we had a massive governance change within Austin. We went from a council of 7 members, all elected at large, to a 10-1 system where we have 10 members elected by district and the mayor elected at large. When those 11 original members were sworn in, 1 had ever served on council before. So you have 10 very brand new faces, not only to council, but to just how do you govern a city? There's a big learning curve there, but not just for them and just getting used to their new job, but a learning curve for us as members of staff and trying to get to understand them and work with them on so many initiatives that are still going from the prior council and just keeping the lights on, keeping the water on, things like that. There's a lot to do there. But they also have amongst those 11 members of council, 11 very different viewpoints of how we should be going about doing all that, right? So by doing this strategic planning process, it created an opportunity for much greater focus on a single playbook that it could be used by everybody, whether you were a member of the community, of council, or staff. We also needed a way to continue all of our efforts to improve transparency and accountability. So what does the strategic plan look like? It includes a vision statement, 6 strategic outcomes, 34 challenge statements. What are those big, meaty issues that we need to be dealing with over the next 3 to 5 years? Imagine Austin indicators. Imagine Austin is our comprehensive plan, which is a 30-year plan outlook largely focused on land use. It also includes about 35 indicator categories for us to be able to judge, are we making progress on achieving those outcomes, on dealing with those challenges, and then 55 strategies associated with it. And the little asterisk in there is because one of the outcomes gets kind of on a different schedule. So there's going to be more amongst all those 6 outcomes. So what are those 6 outcomes? We have economic opportunity, affordability, safety, culture and lifelong learning, mobility, health and environment, and government that works for all of us. And if you read the text that's around each of these outcomes, you'll quickly see that it's a big focus on our community. It's an outward focus. So for so many years as an organization, we were concentrating on how many widgets we were creating, how long it was taking us. It was a very internal focus. So we needed to shift that focus to much more outward facing. We also needed to make sure that we had some very cross-cutting values and perspectives that were incorporated through all the different components of the plan. That includes equity, not equality, but equity, affordability, innovation, sustainability and resiliency, proactive prevention, and last but certainly not least is community trust and relationships. So these grew organic. Some of these were the equity, affordability, and innovation were established right up front. But as we went through the process, these other factors kind of grew organically because we did this project amongst staff and council. We didn't have a consultant that came in and told us, this is your strategic plan, thank you, write me a check. It was something that, well, I have to admit, we had one as an advisor, just a tiny little advisor, but he didn't write things. It was our staff. It was our executive leadership. And you see all the teams here on the page right now. These were the folks that made the strategic plan happen. They are an amazing group of people from all levels of the organization, tons of different departments. They worked incredibly hard for a little over a year to make this happen. And as they did their work, one important factor was the human factor. We needed to make sure we were very human-centered in all this. We had a massive focus on the lived experience of our community and the development of each component of the plan. They also had an opportunity to meet so many new people, exposure to executives and elected leadership as they developed all this. And that was really one of my favorite parts of the process, were all these teams, because they were such amazing people. But you notice I mentioned all those metrics that we had. So one of the big pieces of the metrics that we pushed through all this was the idea of segmentation. We need to do so much better at being able to break down the data, whether it's in a demographic or geographic, so that we can tell a better story. Aggregate data, when I can break it down though, that's when I can really get into the meat of it, and I can start allocating resources in a much more meaningful way and be data-driven about all of this and be far more proactive in how we serve the community. So we also had, there we go, homelessness. Homelessness is a big issue for so many communities across the country, and it continues to be a significant challenge for our community. But in the last couple of years, we've started to put a focus on it like I have never seen before. Our city council authorized funding for what's known as the Homelessness Outreach Street Team, or HOST. So what is HOST? They are a dedicated group that is proactively meeting the needs of people living on the streets. This initiative brings together expertise of police officers, behavioral health specialists, paramedics, and outreach social workers to bridge the gap between social services and public safety for our hard-to-reach clients. In better connecting all those experiences, experiencing homelessness to services, the team also gives city officials a new understanding of what it means to sustainably work to end homelessness. That is our goal, is to end it. And so through all of this work, they are gathering massive amounts of data, and all of the data and insights that we're gaining from HOST and all of our newly coordinated efforts to address homelessness are invaluable because of this work. Because of this data, We are truly at the precipice of a revolutionary new way to address homelessness and serve this aspect of our community in a completely new and a far more productive way. I'm incredibly excited about the work and all of the insights and data coming from our host teams. So what else? What else have we been up to? Capital Project Explorer, we launched this in 2017. Some of you might have seen this before. I think it's made by this little company called Socrata. So it's really changed how we communicate with the public about the millions of dollars we're investing in capital projects. So with the first phase of Capital Project Explorer, we are focusing on our 2016 mobility bond program. In fall of 2016, the voters approved a bond program in the amount of $720 million, focused solely on mobility. So it has 3 different categories. Regional mobility, those are projects that are addressing congestion and enhancing safety. Corridor mobility, projects that enhance mobility, safety, connectivity for all users, and whether you're driving, biking, walking, or using transit. And then also local mobility, things like sidewalks, safe routes to school, urban trails, bikeways, and intersection safety, and more. So I know I saw Brian Long in the room earlier, but he has been the absolute force behind making this happen. So I really want to thank you for all of your work that you're doing to bring all of this data to the forefront of our community. We also launched Open Budget in 2017. In fact, we went live about 15 minutes before we presented it to our city council. No risk. And we did a live demo because we're just a glutton for punishment. Fortunately, everything went beautiful, everything went smooth, because it's a great product. But what was so exciting is when we presented to our city council, and we're giving all of these numbers, all the data behind our budgets to them in this format, they were like kids in a candy store. They couldn't resist, because they all have their laptops and things up there with them on the dais and everything, but they're supposed to be paying attention to the budget presentation, that $3.9 billion budget presentation, and they're just over there clicking, drilling down, just thrilled at what they're doing, because the budget document, well over 1,000 pages of paper. That sounds like a real page turner, right? So I'm really excited about all we're doing here, but we've gone through the dating phase. We've got engaged, we planned the wedding, and now we've gotten married, and so really that's the hard part. We need to do even more to maintain that relationship we have with data. So one of those things is, sorry, this is kind of a boring looking slide, but it is what it is. We're government, don't judge us. We are changing our budget process entirely. It's always been very department focused, but now we are actually doing RFPs. The council has prioritized a handful of those indicator categories of metrics from our strategic plan and said, this is where we want to focus our efforts. This is where we want to focus our dollars to make some real progress. And so we've gone back to the departments and said, okay, folks, you need to prepare a response to these budget proposals of how you're going to move the needle on these indicators. What strategies are you going to use? And you better be focusing on the data and the metrics around it as you make that proposal. So it's basically resulting in a far more data-driven budgeting process and community-focused budgeting process than I've ever seen us do in this organization with all my years with the City of Austin. We're also working on a cultural shift. Data can be scary sometimes. There was a quote that I read a long while back that I completely stole. Use data as a flashlight, not as a hammer. Unfortunately, in our organization, data has been used as a hammer on many occasions, and people are scared of it. They're afraid of the story it might tell or the interpretations people might have, and quite frankly, certain levels of accountability. But we need to change that conversation. We need to change the culture to use that data as a flashlight and make it okay to want to see the red, to see where things aren't going well. Using things like stat sessions to make data-driven decision-making the norm. Having those conversations around the data, the visualizations, everything that we see, and all the different tools that we have available to us through all the different products Socrata produces, making it a part of that normal conversation and making it okay to see there's things not going so great. Because then we can have those conversations about What are the hurdles that you're encountering? What are those challenges? Is that what's preventing you from achieving the goal that you set? Well, then what can we do to address that? As opposed to coming in and saying like, well, you didn't achieve your goal. How did you screw up today? That's not a way to have that conversation. That's what makes data scary. So we need to change that culture where we're embracing data in a loving way, right? So we also are expanding our use of cross-departmental teams. So we had all those folks from our outcome teams. We're bringing our council and our executive leadership together in a new way where they're truly part of a team and it's not an us versus them kind of situation anymore. Our city manager, we have a new city manager who started only 3 months ago, who is a total lover of data and just makes my heart flutter, a little pit-patter. And he's asking me, he's like, how can we continue to leverage those teams? How can we continue to leverage those cross-departmental teams and that work in a meaningful way in the long term? He sees the value in the professional development of those folks and the ideas they can bring to the table. He sees the value in how we can use the data and all the tools we have available to us to better serve this community and make better use of all the resources and tax dollars that we have at our disposal. So some takeaways that I'll leave you with. So first, we never can stop striving for that next level. We always have to be working to make that marriage work. It's not easy. It's something that you can't just turn on the system and walk away and say, it's going to be great, we're done. We have to constantly be attending to it. Continuous improvement and things like that only happen if we're continually paying attention to it. Now more than ever, we have to be community-driven and human-centered. Quantitative data is amazing, but it cannot be at the expense of qualitative data. We need to find the ability to bring those two together and be able to look at that human-centered concept and the lived experience and all the decisions we're making. Data can bring together people and drive real solutions. We saw that with the data portal, just making the data available with Open Austin and with our Liaison network. We need to continue to foster that activity because the most amazing solution can come from the least expected source, right? We need to create and foster a culture of transparency and collaboration. I talked about those outcome teams, but we have all these tools available to us to drive transparency. Well, using things like a data liaison network and these cross-departmental teams whenever possible, that's going to create that collaboration and that appreciation for the transparency. And then finally, as a member of the Socrata community, we have to work together. We need to be actively sharing the methods that and the discoveries made and our successes and even our failures. Bottom line is we are all on a journey together in this journey with data and what it can mean to our organizations and the communities we serve. So we need to be actively working together whenever possible. So I appreciate all the time that you gave me this morning. I appreciate you letting me drone on for a little bit of your morning. And I'm excited for all the sessions we have today and tomorrow, and I encourage you to check out the demo alley because there might be some City of Austin folks presenting in there. But I want to thank all my colleagues of the City of Austin. I'm so happy that I was able to recognize y'all this way, but I want to recognize you each and every day. You guys are amazing people. And then I also want to thank Socrata and all the tools and capabilities that they have brought to us and are given the abilities to share data and share stories with our community in such an amazing way. So thank you and have a wonderful day.